I'd like to welcome I'd like to welcome everyone again this morning, and thank you for taking the time to meet with us and hopefully get many of your questions answered, and at least be reassured on your thought process and your methodology for each of your organizations. So what's great this morning is it looks like we have a nice intimate group. So again, we'll be able to address many, if not all, of your questions. So that's fantastic. My name is Anthony Martirano, Preschool Promise Grants Manager. I have two colleagues with me this morning, Meredith Fleming and Josefina Harry. Meredith, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. My name is Meredith Fleming, and I am a new grant manager at the Early Learning Division, and I will be supporting providers from Preschool Promise as well as Relief Nursery. So I look forward to getting to know you all and having a conversation today. Josefina?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to this small session. Hopefully all your questions and get answered. I'm sorry, my name is Josefina Harry. I'm one of the persons who support the program, and we are here just to clarify any concerns, questions you may have. Thank you for being here.
Great, thank you. As you can see on our screen, we've got just a couple topics to cover this morning and hopefully have a bit of a Q&A and a bit of a dialogue. What I would ask you is if you do have any questions that arise while we're doing a little bit of a presentation, please put those in the chat box. I'll certainly take some time to take some moments of pause so you have the ability to marinate and consume on the information, but also ask questions as well. Just as a reminder, this morning's session is being recorded and will be posted to our Sharepoint site for future reference. So again, thank you for joining. Biggest pieces this morning we're going to talk about is our budget plan and template, and then also how do I get paid, and really more so we're going to talk a little about the draw report, the preschool promise calculator, and how all of that relates to your EGMs, your draws, to essentially get money into your organization's bank accounts. All right, so in front of you is we have our Preschool Promise program budget plan. Before I get into the particulars here, just as a quick update, so you guys are all aware of where we are as a program statewide. For the 2021-22 program year, the current program year, we have 174 grantees. Currently to date, we have 128 budgets received and approved. So we're moving quite efficiently and quite effectively compared to previous years. And so many of our grantees have successfully completed that. When we look at EGM's claims and the number of claims and the amount of money that we've been able to distribute to the communities across the state, as of this morning at 9:05, I've approved just over 340 claims and $4.26 million. And so we're able to make sure that businesses are receiving the funds so that they're ultimately able to provide services to the children and the families in the community. So we'll move right into the budget plan. So this is the budget plan, and the operative word here is plan. How do you plan on spending your Preschool Promise grant award? The biggest element or the biggest item that I found of confusion for some folks is that what we're looking for here is how do you plan on budgeting your Preschool Promise dollars? That's your award, the dollars that's in your grant agreement. We understand, I get it, that many of our organizations, many of our grantees have other funding sources, whether that's direct pay, whether that's your other title dollars, ERDC, you get the stability grant awards. Again, that's great, that's wonderful. But in this context, as it relates to Preschool Promise, we're not concerned with that. So if your grant award is $100,000, that's what we're looking for to be put into this field, okay? I'm not looking for any of your other dollars or any of your other budget funding sources. When we scroll down, again, these are simple fields. You're gonna pick your regional hub. You're gonna select from the pull down. You're gonna pick your grantee's name, your organization's name, the number of slots that you're awarded. You can, again, pull that right from your grant agreement. These are important fields. Some people don't think it is, but again, name of the person submitting it and the contact, the email contact. In the event that there's maybe a there's, you know, a typo or a transposed number, that's the only way that I have the ability to reach out and connect and get that technical assistance provided. Now, what we're looking at as we scroll down here, you've got all of what I refer to as our line items, right? These are all your categories within your budget, and it's A through V, A like Apple through V like Victor. And what we're looking for is you to, again, plan and allocate out the dollars for each of those particular categories. Now, something just to be aware of is there's a good possibility that you may not have a particular category that has a dollar value. What we've done is we've pulled from the general acceptable accounting practices, as well as several expected or anticipated costs that a preschool promise provider may have. And so again, it's likely that you'll have most of these with the number value in it, but there's a good chance that you won't. You don't have to have it. If it's a zero, if you for example, don't plan on buying or purchasing any furniture for the program year, put a zero. Okay, so as long as you put a zero, what you'll notice is all of the categories have a little red asterisk, a little red star. That means that it's a required field. I fielded a few email questions about, hey, I try to submit my budget plan, but it won't. I keep getting an error. And 99% of the time, it's because we accidentally forgot to put an entry in. So again, seems simple, but again, when we're filling these out, it does take some work and effort. So again, just as a reminder there. What's also important here is to ensure that all of the categories A through V equal your total grant award that's listed here. That's the common challenge that I've seen. And when I say common, I would say less than 10% of the budgets that I've received, there's just a challenge there. And again, if your award is $100,000 or $1 million or $45,000, that's the number that we want to see categorized all the way through this budget plan. Again, if your award was $45,000, when we add up all the categories, I don't want to see 42,000. I don't want to see 62,000. We need to see right at 45,000. So when I say that, this is where most times this section V right here that I'm just highlighting in front, this is where sometimes that math gets a little challenging, I guess, or presents an opportunity. So this is really for other subcontracts. And so some folks have elected to put maybe janitorial in this category as opposed to putting under building maintenance, or they'll do inclusionary supports, or they'll have their indirect or admin fee percentages. And what will happen is they'll itemize it out here in this little narration box, but they'll neglect to actually put that total number here. So if you're going to categorize or itemize out the numbers, the values in this narration box, please ensure that you're double checking that calculation, and that is the number here. When we do the calculation on the back side, it's calculating just the line items A through V. This is literally just a narration box that when I review your budget plan, I'm looking at what is the number, and then I'm looking at the narration. Okay, do these line up? Does this make sense? Is this a subcontract? Is that, does it make sense? Is it reasonable? That's ultimately what we're looking for there. And then again, verification is your total entered, making sure that A through V is the total. And again, that equals what your total Preschool Promise 21-22 grant award is. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause there for just a few moments. Do we have any questions in the chat box, or do we have anyone that has any questions?
I'm just gonna quickly add that I recommend that everybody click that little box underneath that says send me a copy of my responses. That way you'll get an email that outlines everything that you submitted. Here's a question. An example of the subcontracted expenditures would be transportation, bus company, things like that, correct?
It certainly could. There is a line item here. It is line U, like umbrella. That's your child transportation. It's one of those things you could do one or the other. Put it in the transportation there, or put it in the subcontract. Again, my word of wisdom there is, if you do put it on the subcontract, that's great. Just put obviously put a narration in the box that lines up that, if for example, you put in on the screen $3,050, and then we itemize it, say, okay, 1,000 is bus, something like that, transportation. If there's a situation where I'm not able to kind of decipher what's going on, I'm not shy. I'll just shoot you an email. Can you just please detail this out a little bit? Simple like that. And again, 9 out of 10 times it's as quick as a 1-sentence response, and then I'm able to approve it. The thing with the budget, again, I want you to understand, I mentioned it before, it's a plan. We understand that things change throughout the year. And as it relates to that, just draw your attention to this section that I'm highlighting here in the purple. You can see it. Now, if you're doing minor changes from like one line item to another, not a big deal. We're not going to get down deep into the roots of your business. But if you're looking at wanting to change one category, move money from one category to another category, and it exceeds 10% or $25,000 of that category, we do require pre-approval. And that is as simple as sending an email to the PSP at state email and stating, hey, Anthony or Preschool Promise team, I've got some dollars under my advertising, 5,000, or it's over 10%. Here's the amount of money that I want to change. I want to move this to inclusionary supports, for example. Tell me, what is the move, how much, and why? And again, 9 out of 10 times, it's an easy approval. We just need to be aware, again, that your plan is changing outside of the 10% or $25,000. Any other questions on the budget form before we move on?
Yeah, I had one, and it was exactly about what you were just talking about. So I don't think I'm saying anything different, but maybe in a different manner that was in my mind. The line items under categories, and by categories, we're talking about these letter headers. If it's within or under 10% within that, or the 25, we're okay to do that.
Absolutely.
And last year, we needed to note that and email someone about it, but this year we would not need to do that, only if it exceeded 10% or $25,000.
So yes, and ultimately it was the same last year. There was some misunderstandings in the communications on that. Again, if it's under the 10% of that category or under $25,000 in that category, I don't care. Like, I mean, I care, but I don't care. You don't need to notify us. But if it's over the 10% of that category or over the 25,000 in that category, then yeah, we just need to do a pre-approval, which means before you make that purchase or internally transfer it, just send us an email to the PSP, and then we can go ahead and get that approved. So it's documented for us, but it's also documented for you, more importantly.
And so the line items under there are just the original ones that we had done. What if, you put utilities and like, oh, wow, we forgot this is really a utility too. And we lump it in there with utilities, but it wasn't originally stated in a line item manner. Is that something to ask about, or that's?
No, I think it's fine. It's fine. And I guess my advice on that is there's no harm in asking, right? So if you in your business office is saying, hey, I'm just not sure, what do I do? Don't hesitate, please send us an email. Well, we're not going to judge you. We're not going to slap you on the hands. We're going to say, thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. You're good to go. So yeah.
Like maybe we forgot to put natural gas in there. And
Yep.
we're like, oh, whoops.
Yep.
We can put it in and feel good about it and document it. And also we can contact you to make 100% sure that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think really where that starts to essentially balance out is when we start looking at your draw reports, because that's what we're actually looking at about the spending, right? And so in the event that you do catch something that you're like, oh yeah, well, we did make a mistake on this, and it's easier for us to make sure that for internally that our books are straight, then again, send the Preschool Promise inbox an email saying, hey, can we update our budget plan? We just need to adjust it. We forgot Northwest Natural Gas. And then it's as simple as that we can send you what's called an update request, and you can just flip those categories or change the dollars simply if you would prefer to do that. But again, not necessary unless it's over the 10% or 25K.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions at this point?
Nothing else has come through.
All right, so let's go to the draw report. This is essentially how do we get paid? How do we get some money in or cash flow into your organizations? So what you'll remember, or if you're new, you won't. Last program year, we did a quarterly expenditure report, which on the surface in the beginning seemed like a good idea. Ultimately, it wasn't really that great of idea, just from a tracking purposes. If you're fiscally minded, looking at burn rates and making sure the dollars are being appropriately expended and so forth. There was a challenge not only here at the state, but also was a huge element of feedback that we received from the field that it was difficult. The one thing with Preschool Promise is, as you probably will recall, is we are a true mixed delivery program, meaning we include everything from our small in-home with 4 to 6 children up to our school districts and Head Start providers that have over 200 children, just in Preschool Promise alone. And so we're trying to obviously make a one-size-fits-all, but it's like sweatpants, right? It's just, we got to get everyone to be able to try to fit in as best as we can. So the draw report replaces the expenditure report that you were used to the previous year. Okay, we're changing the terminology a little bit. We're also changing the frequency of it. The draw report, this is what's key. So if you want to take notes here, the draw report is due at the time in which you submit your EGMS claim. It's a 1-to-1 correlation. If you submit just a draw report and you do not submit an EGMS claim, you will not get paid. And you will likely get an email from myself or one of my colleagues saying, hey, you're missing this. If you submit just an EGMS claim and no draw report, again, you'll likely get an email from myself or one of my colleagues saying, hey, we're going to have to reject this claim because we do not have the corresponding draw report. So again, EGMS and draw report, they're partners. They go hand in hand. So when we look at this draw report, the first time you look at it, I hope you're a little bit confused, like, I already did this, because it's exactly the same as that budget plan. It has the same categories, right? It should feel very, very similar, because again, we want to make sure, okay, here's what I planned for the year, right? That's a kind of a one and done. I submitted, it's approved, and now I'm doing my draw report. This is done again on a monthly basis, and this is showing all the same categories. Again, to my previous comments, there may be times where you don't have a month where you have any advertising dollars, or you don't have any accounting or professional services expenses, right? So again, put a 0 in there. And again, what we're looking for is, let me go up here to the top. This section here, this is super important. Total amount claimed in EGMS. Now, this is one of those things where people get a little, they'll scratch their head a little bit. Claimed. I haven't done my EGMS claim yet. Well, remember what I just said a few moments ago, they go at the same time, right? So some folks will submit their EGMS claim first, and then they'll do their draw report. Some people do their draw report and do their EGMS claim right after. Again, they're going at the same time, so don't get confused with claimed as in past tense, right? So don't worry about that. So I'm going to say that my claim for the month that I want to do in EGMS is $12,000. Wonderful. Now, much like that budget plan, I need to ensure that all of the categories A through V equals $12,000. If it equals 12,500 or 9,400 or 12,055 cents, we have a little bit of a challenge, right? And so if it's just a minor little, like a typo or a transversal of a number, not a problem. I'm reasonable enough. I catch that on the backside. I can make those corrections there. But again, when I go to approve your claim, I'm going to look at your draw report and I'm going to look at your EGMS claims, and they need to match. They need to be identical. When we look at a draw report, let me pause there for a second. Any questions about what I've said thus far? No? Okay.
Yes, I just have
Okay.
one thing.
Sure.
And you were just using the language claimed, and be careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that you might make a statement as in, so when it says claimed, look at the past, and you're sending this at the same time, so you're also including the thing you're working on. Are you saying that? All the past plus this present thing I'm doing, and put all of that in there?
Yes, sort of. And that's what I think I'm gonna I'm going with that direction. So good point there, Robin. Is so some of our grantees will draw. So like if we're November 5th right now, for example. So I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty close to half and half. But so we have grantees right now that are making claims. They're submitting claims and they're submitting the draw report right now. Some of those grantees are submitting for expenses for the month of November, right? So they're pulling the money at the beginning of the month for that month, right? And we have some grantees that again are submitting claims right now, but they're submitting their claim for the previous month, for October. So like a reimbursement type of a model. And so you can do one or the other. It's not a big deal one way or the other, so long as that you're ensuring that, again, you're selecting in, when we go up here to the draw report, we select the month, right? So if it's November 5th right now, I'm either going to select November, if I'm going to go for current, what I'm anticipating my expenses to be today right now for this month, or I'm submitting October, one or the other.
But if I'm going with today and current, I'm including those dollars in with my report about what has been claimed.
Yeah. Right. So again, in this one, I'm going to say I'm going to claim for November.
It was clear if you're claiming for a past thing, because that's already done versus you're looking ahead and doing that today, right?
Yeah. So for November, I'm looking and I'm going to I want to claim 12,000. I'm looking for the entire month of November going forward. And so what do we know about operating expenses? You know, many of those operating expenses are pretty standard, right? Like leases and salary for the most part. There's a little variation there. Utilities do fluctuate from time to time. So it's not too difficult to forecast or anticipate to draft at the front for that month, right? We're not necessarily looking for actuals. I had a question on one of our previous sessions saying, okay, I'm going to forecast it out. I'm going to pull $12,000 for the month of November. When I get to the end of November and I'm starting my December, I only truly had like $11,000 worth of expenses. And so I was actually over by $1,000. So then what you can do is then just adjust your December draft for that. And you're going to be totally fine with that. You're balancing there. One of the things, so we still have some grantees that have not submitted for any claims thus far, right? They just maybe they just got their grant fully executed. So what we're going to do there is don't have to do this. So there's two trains of thought here. What you could ultimately do, again, your grant is, even though if you just executed it yesterday, for example, it's still truly effective July 1st. Okay. You are able to go back to July 1st and account for any preschool promise related expenses for the current program year. Now, the only hiccup there or pause to consider is if your organization participated in the summer preschool promise, the July and August program, that's just a side conversation. Because again, then you have to really, okay, was this for the summer program? Because that was an amendment to the previous agreement with a certain bucket of money. And so we just want to make sure we're not double dipping those dollars. But again, so two trains of thought is if I was a grantee and I just got my grant executed and I've been trying to work on preschool promise, get things ready, my first draw report is I'm going to go July, August, and September. If you know the language there, that's where the quarterly language comes into play this year, is I'm going to submit my first draw report and my first EGMS claim based on those 3 months, right? And again, like we talked previously before, I'm going to, so if my normal month is $12,000, then what should my total amount technically be? It's times 3, right? So we're going to go $36,000 there. And again, making sure that all of my categories down below A through V equals that $36,000, right? So let's say that's great. We fully understand and we're accepted there. So then, okay, that's great. That only goes through September. So if you're going to go with this train of thought and you're going to do that, the July, August, September, great. Go July, August, September, submit your draw report, submit your EGMS, and we'll talk about what that looks like here in just a moment. But then you're going to do one for October by itself, And then you would want to do one for November by itself, okay? And again, depending on your timing and how you do it, again, that's up to you. That does remind me of one thing that we did get some confusion with the grant manual, the agreement, when it talks about when reports are due. In one of the tables or two of the tables, it refers to the expenditures report, the draw report being due by the 15th of the month. That does not apply. Let me repeat that. It does not apply to the draw or EGMS claims, okay? The 15th of the month refers to the monthly report. That's the program report. That's your enrollment, your attendance, your ADA, that report. That one's due by the 15th. When we were going through the grant agreement and the grant manual, we had to partner and work with the Department of Justice, DOJ, and they weren't comfortable with having us put in the due as when you submit a claim, your draw reports due, the frequency. They weren't comfortable with that, and so the recommendation was go ahead and just put the 15th in there as it relates, because it's similar to your other monthly report. So the draw report and EGMS claim, you do not need to submit by the 15th of the month. You can submit it on the 1st, the 2nd, the 10th, the 26th, the 28th, whatever day of the month. It doesn't matter. There was also a rumor going around in a few of the communities that was saying that I was only approving claims on Mondays. I do approve claims on Mondays, but I approve on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays as well. So 5 days a week. Unless it's a state or federal holiday, right? And so I'm not sure where that one came from, but again, if you do it on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, it's all good. A little bit of a behind the scenes, so just so you're aware, I do approve claims throughout the day, right? So I'm checking draw reports and EGMS, much like I'm checking my email throughout the day. And so those are happening essentially real time, not exact real time, but essentially real time. But just so you know, what the process works, the accounting process, when they do what's called batching of the money. So the first step is you submit it, I review and approve. Once it's approved, then our EGMS team does what's called a batching. And that's what sends the money through the accounting process, which ultimately then creates a paper check to mail out to you or starts the direct deposit. That happens roughly at 10:30 every morning. So if you were to submit a claim at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and let's say I was to approve it at 3:15 that same day, that's exactly the same thing as me approving it at 9 o'clock the next morning, because it won't get batched to the following day, right? So if you're at a place where I submitted at 3 o'clock, Anthony approved it at, I don't know, let's say 3:15, it shows approved in EGMS, don't expect those dollars to be processed that night. It'll be processed the following night, just as an FYI. Sometimes, businesses are much like people, and we sometimes run paycheck to paycheck, right? So I get it, making sure cash flow is flowing there. So any questions on this, Katie?
Yeah, thank you. So I work for a school district. I'm the program assistant, so I'm not an administrator or connection with our big business office. And last year was our first year with Preschool Promise. And right when you were making a really important announcement, we had a announcement go overhead. So I think I didn't hear everything you said, but that is different to me, the idea. So because I have that sheet that says required reports and due dates checklist, and I'm looking at it and it says the 15th, and then it has a column for fiscal report and enrollment report. But the enrollment report, which is a service report, that's due on the 15th and it's for the previous month. But the fiscal report, I think I heard you say, is the fiscal report the draw report?
Yes.
Okay, same thing. It's expenditure.
Yeah, I use the word draw.
Okay.
I try to teach everyone to use the word draw report. And yes, there is no due date on the draw report.
Wow.
Other than it's due when you submit your EGMS claim.
Got it.
Yeah,
So,
that follows that what I was mentioning on that
yes.
is DOJ required us to put something there.
Oh, okay. That's why you have, okay.
Yeah. It's confusing and frustrating.
That's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. Oh, I forgot. There was something else I was going to ask, but it'll come to me. Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, if it comes back, definitely let's reach out on that. So any questions on the actual draw report? Anyone else? No? Okay.
Angela, do you feel like your questions were answered? I believe he covered both of those topics.
Awesome, great. So here's something that is the probably for the, well, it isn't probably, it is the biggest difference from last year as it relates to getting money into your organization. If you were around last year, you'll recall that we required you to draft or draw all of your money from your general funds first. And once that was fully exhausted, then you could go to the SSA. Well, that's changed, as you may or may not know. And some of the reasoning behind that is how the money is being distributed to the state, to the division, so that we're able then to ultimately distribute that to you all as grantees, is we have to do a split at claims time. And that's where we pull up the Preschool Promise calculator. Can I get a nod? Everyone can see the Preschool Promise calculator? Okay, awesome. So try to make this as simple as possible. We're all really fantastic at our jobs, but sometimes we're not really great at math. That's fine, it's not a problem. So what we do here is this yellow box is the only box that we're actually entering anything else. None of the cells will allow you to enter. If we go from that previous example from the draw report, where you were going to submit a draw report for July, August, and September of $36,000. You're going to take $36,000 and you're going to put that into that yellow box. And it does it for you now, okay? In previous years, what you would have done is you would have taken that $36,000 and just as your first claim, and you would have just thrown it all at general funds. Don't do that this year, please. It'll get rejected. You'll get a nice email from me, but you won't get the money right away. So again, when you look at this, it splits it, and it splits it down into those green boxes down below. You'll notice the funding streams. Those are the same exact titles as your sub-grants that you'll find in your EGMS profile. We have the general funds, and then we have the SSA, the Student Success Act. So when you submit your claim, you're going to submit two claims, right? You're going to submit one for general funds, in this example for $13,384.80. And you're going to submit an SSA claim in the amount of $22,615.20. Again, a different example, I could throw in there $7,500, and you can see it splits it as appropriate. So the key here is, if I was in your shoes doing this, what I would do is I would go do my draw report first, right? I would submit my draw report, whatever that total number that I'm putting in the draw report for the month or the July, August, September, I'm going to put that in the yellow box, right? And then I'm going to go to EGMS, right? And then I'm going to submit the two claims for one for the general funds and one for the SSA. That's going to be the key. If you accidentally forget or whatever, and you submit all of it towards one of the accounts, you'll get a nice email saying, again, thank you for your claim. I'm unable to process this because you didn't follow instructions. Please review the instructions and resubmit. Super easy, but again, if we can avoid doing that, it saves everybody a lot of time and it's easier. But again, take your total claim, put it in the yellow box, and you're going to submit two claims. Now, I do need to put a little asterisk next to this. There's going to be a time in which you will not have enough dollars in your general funds account. Okay, every grantee is going to be a little different based on the size of the award, right? As you can see, when we do a split, there's a larger amount that goes to the SSA versus the general funds. Probably not going to happen until maybe April or May for most grantees. And again, I don't expect anyone to remember this little asterisk, but there's a good chance that there won't be enough. And then what would you do in that case? You would just draw the difference out of the SSA account. Does that make sense? Any head nods? So if I'm going to draft 77,500 and I go to EGMS and it says general funds on the calculator, says I need to draft $2,788.50, and there's only $1,500 in my general funds. There's not enough to draft that full 2,700, right? So in that case, again, this won't happen probably till April or May, towards the very end. In that case, I'm going to draft whatever the balance in the general fund is, $1,500, $500, 25 cents, whatever the case might be, right? And then I'm going to pull the remaining balance from the general fund, right? So let me make it simple from this screen. You can see the calculator. My total claim I want to be is 7,500. You see the amounts that the calculators tell me that I need to claim in EGMs. I look at my general funds sub-grant, and it only has $2,788. That's all it has. It doesn't have the 50 cents, right? So I'm going to draft $2,788. And then I'm going to go to the SSA, and I'm going to draft what the calculator tells me plus that 50 cents, right? That general funds didn't have. So I would actually claim $4,712. Now, again, I don't expect you to remember that when this comes down the road. But what I do expect is when you find yourself in that situation, you're like, oh, what do I do? You send us an email. We'll give you a quick response and the light bulb will go off. Oh, I remember him saying something about that, right? No big deal, easy fix. We get it rolling for you and we make sure there's no additional delay in your organization receiving funds. So I'll pause there. That's a lot of information. Lots of stuff in the chat. Any questions there?
I think this part is a little bit confusing for people. So I would just remind you that when your general funds run out, that's probably not going to happen until late into the spring. And we don't expect that you have remembered everything we've said today. So just always, if you have a question, just communicate with us. In the immediate term, just remember to, after you submit your claim report, you go to the calculator with your sum total, and then you're going to go make 2 claims in EGMs representing those 2 different totals. So one for general funds and one for your SSA.
So yeah, that's a great summary. You can see draw report on the left side of the screen, calculator on the right side of the screen. At least that's how it is on mine. Whatever this total number here, the total amount claimed in EGM, 7,500. I take this as the magic number right here that I put into the calculator, right? And if I had a third screen up, I would have my EGMs, and then I would do 2 claims again, one general fund and one SSA.
And I'll also add that, the providers, the grantees, you are the ones who need to make the claim in EGMs. So that's why you guys need to do that extra step of determining how it divides out between the 2 funds. We can't do that on our end.
Yeah, if you only submit a draw report and no EGMs claims, there's no money coming to you. If you do an EGMs claim and no draw report, there's still no money coming to you. You've got to do them both, and they need to match. I know it sounds maybe burdensome in the very beginning, and I will tell you, when I was informed that this was the process in which we were going to be able to move forward, I think I did a facepalm, rubbed my eyes a couple of times, because I was thinking, wow, that's a lot, right? It's a lot for you all out in the field. I'm going, right now I'm currently the only one that approves claims. So we have 174 grantees. Last year, we had 174 claims every month. By doing 2 claims, it doubles. So it's over 300 claims every month, right? So it seems like a lot. But I will tell you that just in this short amount of time, since I think our first grant was executed on September 22nd, I think it was. So between September 22nd and now, this is actually more effective and more efficient. It's actually easier from a business standpoint, from accounting and fiscal perspective. There certainly allows you to design and create more controls internally for your organizations, but also allows us to make sure that that's happening as well. I remember last year having several conversations with grantees, mostly your controllers and your fiscal folks, saying, where's the controls? How are you tracking? What does this look like? And so we took that feedback and an actual real world practitioner work and said, yeah, okay, this is how it really should be. So it is smoother this way.
And here's a question. Should we know how much we have in general and how much we have in SSA, and how would we know that information?
Yeah, if you log into EGMs, you'll have your 2 subgrants, right? One will be it'll list it out as Preschool Promise General Funds 2021 to 2023, and then the same thing for SSA, and it'll show it'll show your two amounts. It'll also show you what you're drawing down, what your balances are. So you're not shooting in the dark. You'll see it like when you log in, you'll see, okay, oh, my balance is this and my balance for SSA is that. So you'll see that. You can see that anytime you log into to your EGMS profile. Any other questions or thoughts? So your claims are going to be done on a monthly basis, with the exception of the quarterly language is specific to that Q1, July, August, and September. That allows you to do that. But then the expectation is that you're claiming on a monthly basis. You can either, again, claim at the beginning of the month for that current month, or you can claim at the end or beginning of the month for the previous month, like a reimbursement type model. If that's how your organization operates, you're more than welcome to do that. Again, then you don't have to claim at the beginning or the end of the month. You can ultimately claim anytime throughout the month. That's totally acceptable. Again, just on the draw report, make sure you're selecting what month that you're submitting that report for. And then in EGMS, there's the entry where it talks about period covered. Just make sure that it's corresponding. The exception on that is that first quarter. Generally, what I would suggest, if you're going to do the July, August, September as a bucket in the beginning, go ahead and cover the period covered, go September 30th, and that covers the other side. Yeah, so the quarterly reporting fiscally, so we don't do quarterly fiscal reports. We're doing these monthly draw reports. And in a practitioner's world, the reason and kind of the why behind how that is helpful is to help ensure that organizations are correctly and appropriately drawing their funds down. We had several instances last year, and it may partially have been due to the pandemic, COVID-19, but I can tell you from previous years, it's the same thing every year. Is we have folks that maybe they weren't as effective in spending to their plan. And so then here comes June 15th and they have $50,000 or however much money left, and they want to go spend it, right? And some of that's fine. But the way that these preschool promise dollars works is that, again, your performance period is July 1 of 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Those dollars have to be the expenses have to be incurred, and services and materials have to be performed and received prior to June 30th. So what that means is you have X amount of dollars still in your account to June 20th, whatever, and you want to go pay for this or buy that. Okay, great. It has to be paid prior to June 30th. And if it's a material item, it's tangible, you have to take possession and receive prior to June 30th. And that includes, like last year, we had several grantees asking about playground structure improvements and purchases. Now, when I say receive, that also includes installed. Okay, so I can't go buy a $50,000 play structure on June 15th. It's not reasonable, it's not prudent to think that that's going to be installed prior to June 30th, right? So that would ultimately be an ineligible, non-allowable expense to the $21-22. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't plan, right? Plan and then pay for that in the next performance period, the 22-23, right? So it's not a no period, it's a no, not right now, and you can charge it to the next year as long as it falls into that category. So Robin, you follow up, can we do a monthly report and a quarterly draw? I would highly recommend against that. It will only delay your ability to get those dollars because that draw report's just going to sit there and sit there and sit there versus your report. So again, the recommendation there, well, it's more than a recommendation, but I'll call it a recommendation. It's do your draw report at the time you're going to do your EGMS claim. Outside of that first quarter, July, August, September, go ahead and do that on a monthly basis there. That'll help. That'll also help. A bonus, an advantage to doing that as well is that also alleviates the necessity to do or request changes and updates, right? Because we don't have to worry about large variances between what we drew and what we didn't draw, what our actual was versus what we're anticipating.
So last year it was month by month, and so that's what we're going on. But maybe we got this wrong, but we thought we'd seen language that now it can be quarterly or monthly. And so that's where our minds were, but now it feels dismantled and maybe we're not sure. Is anything quarterly aside from that first July, August, September?
No, nothing. We're not really looking at anything quarterly at this point. That again, that quarter language this year is specific to that July, August, September. That's really that's where that's specific to.
That was the only thing. Not, I got that you said no. I'm just
yeah. No, you're good.
I was thinking. Yeah. It's not that you get to choose quarters for all 4 quarters. You need to do it for the first one, and after that, for all of the variant things we're talking about reports, it needs to be monthly.
Yeah, and I would only make just a small edit to your statement there. Is that you don't have to, it's not a must do that first quarter. You can, you're allowed to, I would encourage you to.
Right,
to
you
again,
can do month by month also.
But, right, but well, no. Meaning we have some grantees that their first draft is and draw report is for September. Right? They're just doing September forward, right? And so what they did is they take their total award, they divide it by 9 because they're only looking at 9 months. And so they're going to draft 1/9 going forward. You don't have to go back to July. Again, if you don't have expenses or anything like that, you don't have to. But again, you're allowed to. I would encourage you to. That creates cash flow to your organization, which, as we all know, is very important, especially the smaller organization you are. It's highly critical. But again, yeah, that quarter language specific to that July, August, September.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Nothing else in the chat box, Meredith?
No, it looks like everything you addressed that just came up. Looks like, let's see. Yep.
Yeah, and to Angela's point in there, yeah, that PSP inbox, absolutely. When in doubt, send something there. That's going to be your greatest point. We all have access to that. Myself, Meredith, Josefina does a fantastic job in supporting our bilingual grantees or Spanish preferred grantees. We have contact there, but we also have Angela Stinson. I'm sure you've seen that name come across. She's our, I forget what her formal title is, but she's an engagement specialist on our program side. She's who sends out all of our Gov delivery preschool promise bulletins, and you'll see a good majority of our responses come from her as well as myself. And again, here real soon, Meredith will be responding out to emails that way. So again, we really do attempt to support you all as a team, right? Many of us have the expertise that crosses over from the grant side to the program side, though not everyone does. And so that's where we're able to make sure we're triaging questions, making sure that the appropriate staff are responding, also allowing us to be significantly more responsive. I know that in the previous year, in the beginning, there were some opportunities to improve upon, which I believe we've done a pretty good job in increasing our responsiveness. So hopefully you're feeling and experiencing that there in the field. But more than anything, Preschool Promise does not exist without all of you. Like, if I'm gone, Preschool Promise still happens. If you all were to disappear, there's no more Preschool Promise, because you all are the ones in the field working directly with our families and our children across the state. So I hope you feel and you hear like the sincere appreciation that we have here at the state for all of you as our partners. I come from the field. Prior to coming to the division, I worked and oversaw Marion and Clackamas counties for one of the largest Head Start providers in the state. I know what it takes. And I tip my hat to every single one of you. And if we were in an in-person training, I would give each of you a high five. So my virtual high five to you, because I not only appreciate, I respect each and every one of you. And thank you so much for all the work you do.
Real quickly, I just want to make a point about the Sharepoint site because some people are having trouble accessing it. So when you do request access, somebody else from ODE is the one that's going to send you a link with the permission. So there's a chance it ended up in your spam folder or something like that. So, but if you don't see it, please reach out again. You can list Anthony and my name specifically. We'll keep an eye out for it to make sure you have that, because that is a really important source of information.
All righty, well, we're going to respect everyone's time. We started 5 minutes late, but we're going to end 5 minutes early, so perfect time. So everyone, have a great rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend, and well, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.